Archangel Michael says, "Tonight the veil between the hidden and the seen is being lifted, and a message that was never meant to reach you until now has finally arrived." The letter was sealed in silence, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself, and now it rests in your hands with trembling weight. What lies within its pages will change everything you thought you knew about your life, your family, and your destiny. The envelope looked ordinary on the outside, yet when you touched it, the air shifted as though heaven itself was leaning closer. A strange vibration pulsed through your fingers, a current of power you could not ignore, urging you to open it without delay. You felt your heart race, not from curiosity alone, but from the knowing that this was no coincidence, it was divine timing. Inside, the paper was thick, aged, carrying the scent of time and hidden truths. Written in careful ink, the words carried authority, yet an unsettling tenderness, as though they were written by someone who had been watching you from afar. And in those lines was the revelation, an inheritance, one you never knew was destined to reach you, from the very last person you would have ever expected. The shock flooded you, like cold water over fire, leaving you suspended between disbelief and awe. Your legs felt heavy, your breath caught, and your eyes darted back and forth across the sentences, as though rereading would change the meaning. But no, it was there, undeniable, your name tied forever to a fortune, a responsibility, and a truth no one prepared you for. Type Amen to get blessing 333. The word struck deeper than money, deeper than property, it was about legacy. The letter carried not only assets but secrets, decisions made in silence that now surfaced like ghosts breaking through the walls of the past. And the most chilling part was not the gift itself, but the name signed at the bottom, a name that sent your soul spiraling into chaos. It was someone you had known, someone you had trusted in one light but misunderstood in another. This person had been closer to your story than you realized, shaping events without ever revealing their hidden hand. Their passing did not end their reach, instead, it opened a doorway for you to step into the unknown with both caution and courage. The inheritance was not left lightly, it came with instructions, as though this person knew the struggles you would face and the battles that would come. Every word written on that page carried an urgency, a call to act wisely, for the wealth was more than financial, it was spiritual, karmic, generational. Heaven was ensuring that you, and only you, would carry this torch forward. The more you read, the heavier the air became, as if unseen eyes were watching your every reaction. It felt as though the very room around you bent under the pressure of destiny, and even silence grew alive with whispers of guidance. You knew in that moment that this was not a mere earthly inheritance, it was a message stitched with heavenly threads, carrying blessings and warnings alike. Type Amen to get blessing 444. Comment if you feel the energy of this message touching your spirit right now. You turned the letter over, searching for clues, and there it was, an emblem embossed in wax, faint but still intact, marking the seal of authority. This was no casual act, no accident, it had been planned for years, waiting for you to be ready. And ready or not, the moment had arrived, and you could not walk away from it. The emblem glowed faintly under the dim light, as though it carried its own silent fire. Your fingers trembled as you traced its shape, recognizing something you had seen only once before in a distant memory. That memory now returned, stronger than ever, whispering that this inheritance was not about chance but about divine alignment. You remembered moments where this person seemed to fade into the background, never seeking attention, never asking for acknowledgement. They walked quietly, but every step carried an unseen purpose, as though they were laying a hidden foundation for your future. And now, the evidence of their silent work was laid bare in the letter clutched in your hands. The truth was heavy, and yet it carried an odd comfort, like a long-forgotten lullaby resurfacing after years of silence. The fortune, though shocking, felt familiar, as if your soul had already known this was meant for you. And in that knowing came both fear and a sacred responsibility. The words etched into the letter carried instructions, guidance about who you could trust and who was secretly plotting against you. These were not warnings to be ignored, but roadmaps designed to keep you safe and protected as you stepped into this inheritance. Heaven itself was using the voice of the departed to guide your path. Type Amen to get blessing 555. Comment below if you feel chills reading this message. It's a sign that this was meant for you. You sat back, clutching the letter tightly to your chest, your heart pounding with the rhythm of destiny. Every sound in the room grew sharper, the ticking clock, the rustle of curtains, the faint hum of electricity. Even the air itself seemed to lean in closer, waiting for your reaction. It was then you felt it, a presence, unseen but undeniable. The atmosphere shifted, and though no one else was in the room, you felt as though someone had stepped inside with you. Their energy wrapped around you like a cloak, and suddenly the message in the letter felt alive, breathing, watching. This inheritance was not about material wealth alone. It was about uncovering truths, exposing hidden betrayals, and taking back what was rightfully yours. The letter was a key, unlocking not just money or land, but the secrets people worked so hard to bury. And the shocking part, the very last person you thought could ever care for you this deeply was the one who made sure you would never be left unprotected. The irony was brutal, yet it carried a beauty only heaven could design. Their final act was not of betrayal but of restoration, rewriting the story others tried to destroy. Type Amen to get blessing 666. Archangel Michael says, "This revelation is not to break you, but to strengthen your steps as you walk forward. Heaven has chosen you for this moment, and no force in the world can take away what has been sealed for you. But you must prepare, for along with blessings, enemies will surface, desperate to strip this away from you." The air thickened as the weight of the letter's truth pressed deeper into your chest. You realized that everything you thought you knew about your life had been a carefully painted illusion, hiding the real story that was meant to be uncovered tonight. The inheritance was not just money, it was a revelation of identity. You remembered the countless nights you cried, wondering why you felt unseen, abandoned, or overlooked by those you trusted most. This letter answered that pain, proving that someone had been watching, protecting, and preparing for your future all along. Their silence had not been absence, it had been strategy. The name at the bottom still burned in your mind, shaking your sense of reality. How could it be them? How could the person you least expected leave behind the very blessing that would rescue you from everything meant to destroy you? And yet, the truth was right before your eyes, etched in ink, undeniable and alive. Heaven made sure this message reached you at the exact moment you needed it most. The world around you may collapse, but this inheritance was proof that you are chosen. Type Amen to get blessing 777. Comment if you feel destiny pulling you right now. The instructions grew more detailed as you read on, guiding you on how to access hidden accounts, sealed documents, and private agreements left in your name. Every step had been mapped out, like a divine chessboard where every move was carefully planned. You were not just an heir, you were the final piece of a long-hidden plan. But there was danger woven into the gift. The letter warned of others who would try to intercept you, people who had always smiled in your face while plotting behind your back. They were waiting for this moment, but the letter reached you first, and that meant heaven was already ahead of them. The deeper you read, the more intense the chills became running through your body. You could feel your ancestors' presence, spirits who had been silenced finally speaking through the words in your hands. Their love, their pain, their sacrifices, everything was converging into this inheritance, now resting in your care. You weren't just receiving wealth, you were inheriting unfinished battles, stories left incomplete, and victories stolen long ago. And now, by divine will, the ending was being rewritten through you. The last person you expected had turned out to be the one who never forgot you. Type Amen to get blessing 888. Archangel Michael says, the enemy will panic when they realize this truth has been revealed to you. They will scramble, they will attempt to block your path, but the seal of heaven is already over you. No trick, no betrayal, no false promise can stop what is rightfully yours. The letter warned you to keep silent, not to trust the familiar voices around you who would pretend to help. Those who once laughed at you, mocked your struggles, and celebrated your pain would soon disguise themselves as friends. But the message made it clear. Silence would protect you until heaven revealed the full plan. The fortune itself was staggering, more than you had ever dreamed, more than anyone could imagine. But it was not the amount that shocked you, it was the person who gave it, and the message they attached to it. They wrote that this was not payment, not charity, but restoration of what always belonged to you. The words echoed in your chest, louder than thunder, shaking your very soul. You finally understood why your life had been filled with storms, betrayals, and hardships, because they were all meant to distract you from this moment. But nothing could stop it anymore, the inheritance had already found its rightful owner. Type Amen to get blessing 999. The sound of the paper still crackled faintly in your hands, like it carried electricity from another realm. You held it tighter, almost afraid that if you let go, the truth would vanish into thin air. But it was no dream, this was your reality now. Your eyes drifted back to the signature at the bottom of the page, the name written with such clarity it felt carved into your destiny. It was a name that carried weight, a name you never thought would connect with your future. Yet, here it was, the seal of their final act binding your life forever to theirs. The more you thought about it, the clearer it became, their silence was never indifference, it was protection. They lived in the shadows so you could step into the light at the right moment. And tonight, the curtain of secrecy had been torn open by divine order. A flood of emotions rose inside you, gratitude, confusion, fear, but above all, a powerful surge of strength. You realized this inheritance was not just about what they left behind, it was about who you were always meant to become. This was not the end of a chapter, but the start of a destiny that heaven refused to let you miss. Type Amen to get blessing 111. Comment if your spirit feels this was written directly for you. The letter grew heavier in your hand as though the ink itself carried burdens not yet lifted. It spoke of lands that were hidden, accounts left untouched, and treasures waiting to be unlocked. But each treasure was marked with a warning: those who opposed you would rise louder once they realized what you carried. You could almost hear their voices already, plotting in the dark corners of greed and envy. They thought the inheritance would vanish with the one who signed the letter, but they were wrong. Heaven saw their schemes long before they even began, and that's why this message reached you in secret. A quiet tear slipped down your cheek as you thought about everything you had been through. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every night you felt abandoned, it all led to this moment of unveiling. The inheritance wasn't just wealth, it was proof that you had never been forgotten. Your chest rose and fell with deep breaths as though you were preparing for battle. And perhaps you were, because with blessings always comes resistance. But the letter promised one thing with certainty: victory was already written in your name. Type Amen to get blessing 222. Archangel Michael says, "You will not walk into this future alone. Forces of light are surrounding you now, clearing paths, silencing enemies, and opening doors that no one else could open. What others tried to bury has been resurrected for you by divine decree." The more you absorbed the words, the more you realized that this was about far more than personal gain. It was about rewriting bloodlines, restoring dignity, and breaking curses that had lingered for generations. You were chosen as the vessel, the one to hold and carry this power into the future. Suddenly, the silence in the room was broken by a gust of wind rattling the windows, though they were locked. The air smelled faintly of fire and rain, a sign that heaven itself was present, confirming what you just read. Your skin prickled as a shiver raced down your spine. You knew then that the inheritance was more than earthly, it was spiritual, designed to lift you out of cycles that once kept you bound. And the very last person you expected had been the one heaven used to secure your freedom. Their hidden love had now turned into your greatest breakthrough. Type Amen to get blessing 333. Your hands trembled as you placed the letter on the table, afraid of its power yet unable to release it completely. Every word seemed alive, echoing in your ears like whispers from another world. The walls around you felt thinner, as if secrets were pressing through them to reach you. You thought of the nights you questioned why your life felt cursed, why blessings slipped through your fingers just as you reached for them. Now the answer had been handed to you. Someone had been fighting behind the scenes to secure what you could not see. That someone had left their final mark with this shocking inheritance. The paper itself seemed to pulse with hidden energy, a reminder that this was no ordinary message. It was not a lawyer's notice or a banker's letter, it was a heavenly contract disguised in earthly form. And with each line, your destiny unfolded like a scroll written long before you were born. The signature at the bottom of the page burned into your soul like fire that could never be put out. You could not deny who it was, nor could you deny what it meant. The last person you expected had become the one to lift you higher than you ever imagined. Type Amen to get blessing 444. Comment if you can feel chills right now, because this message is alive in your spirit. Your breath caught as you reached the final page, where the words grew darker, more urgent. There was mention of enemies who had always been near you, watching, waiting to strike when you were vulnerable. They were aware of this inheritance but never thought it would actually reach you. Now, with the letter in your hands, their plans had failed. But the message made it clear, they would not give up easily. You were warned to move carefully, to protect yourself, and to guard this revelation until the right moment to reveal it fully. Your mind replayed every betrayal you had experienced, friends who turned their backs, family who lied, partners who deceived. And suddenly, it all made sense. Their hatred was fueled not just by envy, but by fear, because deep down, they knew you carried something far greater than they did. The words in the letter spoke of restoration, not just for you but for generations to come. This inheritance was not a selfish gift, it was a chain breaker, a door opener, a force that would ripple through your bloodline forever. You were not just chosen, you were appointed. Type Amen to get blessing 555. Archangel Michael says, the time has come to rise above the confusion of the past. What was once hidden in darkness is now standing in the light. No one can erase the truth that heaven has written for you. You closed your eyes for a moment, feeling the tears slip down your face. The letter in your hand was more than paper, it was a weapon, a shield, and a promise. It was the proof that heaven had never abandoned you, even when the world tried to. The silence in the room grew louder, almost holy, almost terrifying. It was as if angels themselves stood around you, their wings brushing against the air. You could feel a divine presence so strong it pressed against your chest, reminding you that you were not alone. And then, as if on cue, the lights flickered once, just once, but enough to send another chill crawling through your body. The inheritance was sealed, but forces of darkness already knew it had been released. What came next would test your strength in ways you never expected. Type Amen to get blessing 666. The air around you seemed charged with unseen sparks, every breath heavier than the last. You could almost feel the weight of eyes upon you, though the room was empty. The letter had opened a doorway, and through it, heaven and hidden truths poured into your reality. You sat motionless, replaying the names signed at the bottom of the page. This was the very last person you ever thought would leave you anything, let alone something this powerful. And yet, their final act had turned into your greatest revelation. The inheritance described in the letter was staggering: lands, accounts, properties, even jewels locked away in vaults. But more than the physical, there were secrets written within, truths about your family that no one dared to speak. The words revealed betrayals you hadn't seen but always felt in your bones. Your hands grew cold as you realized that this letter was not just about blessings, it was also about exposure. Those who had plotted against you, even under the guise of family, would soon be unmasked. The truth was about to burn through every lie ever spoken about you. Type Amen to get blessing 777. The instructions written on the pages were crystal clear, almost prophetic. Step by step, they told you where to go, who to avoid, and how to unlock what was waiting. Every sentence felt like a command from above, leaving no space for doubt. You thought back to the times you almost gave up, the days you wondered if your struggles had meaning. Now you saw why you had to endure every storm, because you were being prepared for this exact moment. The pain was not punishment, it was preparation. The letter warned of false helpers, those who would soon come with smiles on their faces but daggers in their hearts. They would act like allies, but secretly work to take what was sealed for you. Only silence, patience, and faith could guard what heaven had entrusted to you. Even as you read, you could feel those very energies stirring in the atmosphere. Somewhere out there, the ones who tried to bury the truth would soon sense their loss. Their empire of lies was crumbling, and the foundation of their deceit could no longer hold. Type Amen to get blessing 888. Archangel Michael says, "Do not fear the shadows that rise around you now. They are only the last resistance of a darkness that knows its time is over. Your inheritance is the light, and light always consumes the dark." You pressed the letter to your chest, almost as though hugging the soul of the one who wrote it. Their love, though hidden in life. The words carried blessings, but they also carried weight. The kind of weight that bends the spine but strengthens the soul. You knew that heaven would not trust you with something this powerful unless you were strong enough to bear it. The silence broke again with the faint sound of footsteps, though no one was there. It was a reminder, unseen forces were moving, and the story written in that letter had already begun to unfold in the spiritual realm. You were no longer waiting, your destiny had already started. Type Amen to get blessing 999.